Hi, everybody. So, as promised, let's take a look at the United States. So, sorry, I have to get symmetrical here. So, I did a video on my other channel today talking about some more affective spiritual things as I do when certain things come to me. And I would highly recommend going and finding Trey Smith on YouTube. And his latest video is called Strange July. And it features a lot of Kim Clement's prophecies. So that's all I'll say about that. And Gina was reading from the 68th plate, which is the equivalent of 248 years, or however old we are now, maybe 249. So we have a new plate since the 4th of July. And right out of the gate, we have the Two of Clubs, which is the card of KH, B just endorsed. So the Jack of Diamonds is displacing, it's sitting in the home of, I would rather say, the Nine of Spades, which is horizontal Neptune, vertical Uranus. So we know that Neptune is about illusions and so forth, but Uranus is kind of the opposite. So maybe we can expect some revelations and some new things coming forward, maybe kind of a shock of spiritual energy. What I have found, oh, and the Nine of Spades is the card of Yogananda. Hi, Miss Glinda, how are you? So, yeah, it's kind of exciting to think about. And I've experienced some really powerful spiritual energies recently, and part of this is due to the fact, and I see this happening with a lot of people, that there's this very powerful momentum moving forward. And I've heard astrologers say that the first half of this year was one thing, but the second half is a totally different thing. And I see a lot of people moving forward with their careers and their aspirations and actually beginning to gain some traction. So my version of that, hello, Ta. What I have done is I've finally entered a program that I've been wanting to enter for about 20 years, and it's a really deep spiritual dive into oneself, one's experience, a lot of really deep observation. It's called the Ridwan School, Diamond Approach. So I was in Boulder last weekend, and it was just phenomenal. And I had a couple of really powerful heart expansions and a really strong focus on the belly energy and really awakening that. And I think that's so important for star seeds and spiritual types to just begin to focus on that. So I would encourage you to just try a meditation. You take your hands like this, you put the right hand around the left, and you just hold it right below your belly button and just focus on that, even if you don't feel anything in your belly. And after a series of 15-minute meditations, which felt like forever, I finally began to really awaken that center and feel something. So that's really cool. So back to the USA, Jack of Diamonds. So yeah, we're in the, we start out in the Neptune line down there, but then the descending hand goes up to the crown right away. So let's get some dates under our belt really quick. So get out my old tattered faithful. Oh my gosh, this book is so tattered. So, oh gosh, I didn't write in the dates of transits. So the 52-day periods are as follows. We will go into Venus on August 25th. Election will take place in the Mars between October 16th and December 7th. And I think that we will highlight the Jupiter period because of the Kim Clement prophecy saying that he said, strange July, hypnotic November, oh, Christmas. So I'm feeling a lot of interesting energies around that myself. And of course, we'll take a look at the Mars period. For now, let's look at Mercury, which is descending Two of Clubs. So that can mean, arguments. It can mean a real focus on how we are communicating with ourselves. I had the most amazing conversation with she's a dear friend. She's my EMDR therapist. She's my Dances of Universal Peace buddy, and she's my yoga buddy. And after class today, we were sitting and talking, and she was going into great detail about we had a shooting here in Fort Collins on Sunday, and I thought she was talking about that young guy. Went on and on and on, and then finally I realized she was talking about the shooter. And we came to a place, because we view things quite differently. We came to a place of saying, oh my gosh, I just really, hi, more soul knowledge. Ray, there's going to be a pull to be pulled back into that divisive thinking. And the Two of Clubs is that thinking, going back and forth. And I think it's very important to try to discern the information. And of course, you can't avoid it. Even if you're disinterested, you know some of the really big happenings in this past week to remember. Very big happenings. And in my other video, I was saying it's important to kind of stay plugged in right now, because as light workers, we bring a certain energy and a web of cohesion, of deeper awareness. But after my conversation with my friend today, I realized how important it was to focus on your own happiness, your own fulfillment, your own aims and goals and dreams and aspirations. A lot of those have really been coming to the fore for us. And that's the Buckminster Fuller principle of don't worry about the outmoded thing, create the new thing. Don't worry about the bully in the playground. Create something really cool in your own sandbox and invite people. So with that Two of Clubs, it can become, artful communication, being kinder, more considerate, and also just observing how you talk to yourself. And also, the Two of Clubs is KH. So of course, right out of the box, there's just like whoop, this huge focus on this person who may or may not even still be with us. And you know what I mean. Nonetheless, their astrology and their charts are really still very connected. So Beyond Mystic has had some phenomenal videos and reads recently on people and their charts and happenings. And yeah, I encourage you to watch them, on Rumble and YouTube. So what is the ascending Mercury? Where can we focus our energies? Four of Diamonds is on the other side. So this is what I'm reading, the 68th thingy, and the Jack of Diamonds is right here. And if we descend, we go to the Two of Clubs. If we ascend, we go to the Four of Diamonds. And then that Two of Clubs becomes ascending moon for us all year, which can be like, for me, it's going to be a commitment to just speak more kindly to myself. And that's been a huge focus for me this past month. So what is the Four of Diamonds Mercury? It's thinking about building a foundation and realizing that you have enough. The Four of Diamonds karma card is the Five of Spades, which is ultimate freedom, mobility. Fours and fives have this intense relationship, but the four is a real focus on grounding and foundation and feeling really solid and stable. Hey, you guys, what is the card of today? Somebody answer that for me in the comments. So the 20th was the Eight of Clubs. That was Saturday. So 8, 7, 6. We're in the Six of Clubs today. So we should have some very even-handed thinking in this video. And I'm just thinking, I'm not feeling as funny and amusing today as normal. Thank you. So maybe that's because it's a Six of Clubs day. And I just have this observation I'm going to throw in about the Six of Clubs, because I know a lot of them. I only know one that has stuck to the same job as long as I've known him, a former partner. Everybody else actually moves around every couple of years at the very least, and always needs the new thing. And they're very fired up, I think, by that Five of Clubs next to them. You're always very influenced by the card that's one less than yours, because I think it's an emotional launch pad. It's where is your security, what really creates fulfillment for you. So that's really something to look at. And routine, Six of Diamonds, for me as a Seven of Diamonds, really fits that bill. it might be kind of hard. We might have some challenges around it, but when you do it, you feel really grounded and secure. Anyway, so that Four of Diamonds, thinking about foundation and going forward. So, I mean, just for example, this morning, my commitment to just go with things like I was doing EMDR with this friend, and at the very end, she's like, "Do you have any more insights or information or whatever?" And I got this image of my puppy being dressed up in a pioneer costume with one of those little bonnets. And I said to my friend this morning, I was like, "I want to focus on shit like that." um, it takes a little discipline, but I want my life energy to be going more into the things that I value, the things that give me a very strong sense of foundation. So that's something to think about. So I'm talking more personal and an affective way, but what does the Four of Diamonds mean for us on a national level? And maybe the ascending means that we are going to be really thinking about strong financial Four of Diamonds. Oh, we're in a Four of Diamonds week. Perfect. And to think about that in the positive, being every time we're thrown adversity, we pull out our tool belt and we go to work thinking of, what can I do? How can I rearrange things so that I can find stability, with the grocery prices and the gas prices? And, I think everybody has probably instituted at least one thing going forward that is new and different. And please feel free to type that in. Like, for example, we make a portion of our dog's own food, sweet potatoes, rice, that kind of thing. And I think they're healthier as a result. And, when things are easy, you tend not to be as creative. So necessity is the mother of invention. And I think there is a little bit of difficulty and challenge sometimes with the Four of Diamonds. They tend to feel like they don't have enough. So instead of going there, I think we're going to be focusing more on foundations that make sense, that are solid. There's not a lot out there that makes sense right now. It is the era of absolute absurdity, is it not? But we can choose to create stronger foundations. And maybe, I can't help but think that this might have something to do with currency. Like, are you investing in silver, XRP, da 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 da? I'm not really into that kind of thing, but I do have some silver, and yeah. So if anybody has any other thoughts about that, just go ahead. Okay, let's look at the next period, which I don't know. Hi, righteous. Peace and blessings to you too. You might even ask yourself, how am I being personally affected by this conversation right now between the Two of Clubs and the Four of Diamonds? How can I communicate with myself and others about building a stronger financial foundation? And not just financial, but what is important to you? That's the key question. What are the key fundamentals? And so this morning, like, I was in yoga and I was like, and I was taking a jog, which was really just a walk. And I was like, okay, no more inorganic flour because it makes my joints hurt. More vegetables, more protein, going to do the Fit for Life diet, proper combining. And I was just making this huge list, which is foundation. So have you guys been thinking about that too? And also just a conversation of kindness and compassion and what fits for you, not what is, out of your range, too idealistic, or what your buddy's doing that just seems like, oh my God, why can't I be more like that? So yes, I'm getting some yeses here. So I think this is a really good time to think about the foundation, because I tell you what, even though we've been through a week to remember, I think there's a really good possibility that it's only just begun. I think it might just get a lot crazier. And no matter which side of the political spectrum you're on, everyone's being really affected by what's going on. So that can be kind of, destabilizing for everybody. How can you support people around you? And how can you support your primary relationship? And how can you, do things that make your close in feel more secure? And that's what that Four of Diamonds is about: security. Being considerate of others outside of myself. Very good. Ta says, I really have been focusing on my family's health as a whole. Beautiful. Yeah, and my husband, I've been thinking we're free of a lot of drama at this point in our relationship, so we're a little lost. And I'm like, let's choose some really enriching things. Maybe we should join a paint pottery while you drink wine class, or a book discussion group, or a choir, or let's go golfing. And all these things are outside our normal thing, but sometimes you have to leave your comfort zone to really do good self-care. Eclipse. That eclipse, the next few years about to crazy. I get you. I know you're distracted when you're typing, but we get the idea. Totally. Righteous. Yes, focusing on financial stability. I just told my daughter to buy silver and gold just in case. Yeah, and I actually took a really big chunk of cash out, but because I'm transitioning careers, I'm getting out of painting and into, this kind of thing more. I had to put the money back in the bank, and I am in a credit union, so I'm not quite as nervous. But having a cash stash, I think, is really important. So yeah, making those choices and go with your gut. If somebody says, "Oh, you have to buy crypto," and you're like, "Just doesn't feel right," don't worry about it. My point was that the eclipse was the source of the craziness. Yes, that, the big X over the United States, it definitely set off some really big things. And yeah, and I think that I just felt, and you guys tell me, with the assassination attempt, I felt a really big cosmic shift. I listened to David Wilcock, and I listened to him on the way back from my weekend in Boulder, and he talked about cutting cords, not only with the establishment out there, but for me, it's like, I don't know, what cords do you need to cut? What assistance do you need? And I was told, cut my cords with my parents. Okay, they both passed away. I'm really cool with both of them. I talk to them both frequently, but I knew what they were saying. They were like, don't identify yourself as the wounded or lost child anymore. And then the next day, so I cut these little cords. I was like, we're beings to each other. I don't have to think of myself as having been a victim of your shitty parenting anymore. And the next day, a couple of mourning doves flew over, and that's my sign for them. It's like, we're still with you. The grid may go down this year. Got to prep. I'll be rolling. Yeah, it'll be rolling blackouts. There was a timeline shift from that event. Yes. Yes. Thank you for saying that. I feel so strongly that there was a timeline shift. And scales coming off, and people seeing things that they've never seen before. There's definitely a kind of awakening. Yes, I felt that was a really cosmic event. Erica Duro, cool name. I think some are ready to be kinder. Yes. Okay, so I've got to tell you this little story. So down in Boulder, Boulder types, it's a very liberal town. I lived there for 4 years, and the morning after the sniper, we sat down. We're all getting ready to do our opening 15-minute meditation, and the teacher said, I want to dedicate this meditation to those who were injured or killed in yesterday's attack. And he paused for a moment, and he looked down, and he said, so few people know what's really going on. Jaw drop. And then there was a woman in the room who was like, I just don't feel like I can proceed with today's activities because I'm so distressed about it. And I think it brought the light and the dark to the fore of things that are within, because, if you're like, you see someone on the opposite side, you see an attempt on their life, and they're very well loved. And even if you don't like them, you realize you don't have murder in your heart. You might have carelessly said it, but is that what you would do? Is that really what you want? And so I think it is making people ready to be kinder. I totally agree, Erica. Definitely an awakening and stepping more into a heart-based energy. Totally. I mean, I was just sitting on my patio, which I do in the mornings, and I was kind of distressed about something and just kept bringing it up and showing it to God and just surrendering it and having it be there. And my boobs are unsymmetrical. I'm sorry, it's really bugging me. Anyway, my heart just began to expand and expand and expand and expand, and it nearly became overwhelming. And it was something that I can't describe. It was similar to a panic attack, except it wasn't panic. It was just a lot of energy and a lot of expansion. And let me give you an exercise if this comes to you. this teacher instructed me when I was having this like third eye explosion, like my pineal gland had Tesla things coming off of it, and then the energy moved into my heart, and then I was like, whoa, I'm overwhelmed. And he was guiding me through this, and he said, put your feet flat on the floor, scoot forward in your chair if you need to, and then just rock your knees back and forth, like towards and away, towards and away. And the energy went right down my shins, came down to my belly center, and immediately I felt grounded. So I think that's really important too, because I tend to be, and I know a lot of my friends tend to be upper chakra focused. So yeah, getting that heart energy to expand both up and down. Okay, so thank you so much for your participation. I just feel the room kind of expanding with all of that. Okay, let's look at the Venus period, which is August 25th to October something. October 16th is when Mars begins. So the Venus period, late August, September, basically. We jump up to the crown line, and what is sitting in that Jack of Spades house up here is the Seven of Spades, and the ascending is the Four of Hearts. I always hum to move the energy. Oh, I've heard that once before. I don't know where, but that's really a great suggestion. Yeah, and making up little songs. Like I picked up one of my chickens one day and I was just like making up songs to it. And then there was some really funky music and I was dancing the chicken on the table going, funky chicken, chicken, chicken funky. You're a funky chicken. Coming from this creative place and putting it into words, again, you're exercising right and left brain together, which is really increases your creative capacity and your intelligence and that kind of thing. So I'm sure that comes into this somehow, because the seven sitting in that Jack of Spades or Ten of Clubs position, it's ruled by Mars, and Seven of Spades says there's a sticky wicket, there's a bug in my pudding, there's a wrench in my machine, there's something not right here physically, there's some kind of constriction. And Jeannie was saying that since, if we look at, well, I'm not really going to go there because it was a good point, but it had something to do with how the Two of Clubs, KH, her Mercury, descending Mercury is the Seven of Spades, which might mean that she just sees a lot of obstacles or communicates negatively. Or maybe it's a card of faith for her, but I don't know. So much worthless tripe comes out of her mouth. I'm sorry, but yeah, I've seen most negative videos about her, and I'm sure there's some positive ones, but anyway, Seven of Spades in that very powerful position, I think, is going to cause us to do some real change, some real physical change in our lives, to say, okay, I have to start a new habit. And we've talked about that a little bit, more creative building ideas, but that Seven of Spades might be like, oh, now something's really in my way. And then the corresponding Venus, the ascending, is Four of Hearts, which is, and that sits in the Seven of Spades house down here. That's the home of the Seven of Spades, Seven of Spades real estate. So I think it's quite possible we are going to be needing to create emotional security for ourselves in the face of some kind of obstacle, something very challenging and difficult. And it might be a really good time to unplug from the news cycle at that point and just really focus on security and home and feeling safe and really going into a faith mode. So the main download that I got right after the sniper attack was that we have to look to God. And then I saw several other messages coming out that way, like Laura's view in Tarot 2, and other people were getting that message very clearly, that, well, and that just seemed to be in the collective, is that, God's got this. Yeah, and Ray says you can see unplugging. So going into a place of faith, and again, this is going to sustain the collective and add an energy to everything that says, yeah, it may be a lot of chaos and mayhem, and we can expect, I think we've been seeing the war between the old controllers and what's trying to come forward. I think that's become more visible. I mean, obviously, no duh, right? But it's become much more visible. And I think we're going to see that ramping up. And it's important not to get caught in that earthly view of like, oh, fuck. Like, I found myself thinking about this. Like, when someone finally puts a lawsuit against KH and says she wasn't even born in this country, she doesn't qualify. I mean, I saw that 4 years ago. I was like, what the hell? Which was an indication that maybe her handlers were not from her party. So this may be a strategic thing, but who knows? I was like, uh-oh, who are they gonna slip in at the last second? I don't know. I have had a very fuzzy feeling about the election. Okay, election, put a tag in it. We'll go there next. Yes, oh my God, faith is it. I believe that's the split in consciousness. Those of us that are faithful and trusting God and send out an energy of love, our reality will be different. Oh yeah, you see it every day, right? I mean, my husband is like, things feel so apocalyptic. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm really good. And I said, I don't know when it happened, but I've achieved an energy of non-attachment a long time ago. And I used to be extremely volatile around anything. I couldn't handle other people not knowing what was going on. I just couldn't be in the same room with them practically. And now I'm just much more gracious and loving. And I'm like, we're all just people. And, it's life, when you come away from that layer of what do we think is going on to what's happening in your heart, what's happening in your life. Tell me about your growth edge. The whole conversation changes. So, yeah, and I see that in those who know what's going on, just have a peace of mind. They're just really calm. And I think that we are truly the baffles in the waterbed. When the sea gets rough, we're just going to be like, hold steady, everybody. It's going to be all right. Just hang in there. God loves you. I love you too. So let's look forward toward the election. I have had this feeling that it's not going to happen. And I usually don't go there. I've gotten to a place where I'm like, things are probably just going to be like they've been. But I cannot shake this feeling that something is just going to prevent it from happening. And it could be because Kay is not qualified to even run. And maybe that is going to come come home to roost in early November. And then they're going to be like, they got nobody. So what are we going to do? I don't know. What's going to happen? Well, so-and-so is in place until January 20th. So November, December, Christmas, that takes on a new relevance when we're kind of gaming out what could be happening. So when we move on to the Mars period, which is October 16th to September 7th, so this covers the election, moving towards Christmas. Descending, we are up in the crown line and we have the Pentacle card. Now this is very significant and it means that Jeannie is going to be president. No, the Five of Diamonds sitting in that Pinnacle position in Mars, I think means a change of values. 5 can be awakening, a shift in perspective, a shift in what we deem to be important. Yeah, and I'm since diamonds represent values and also it can represent like spirituality. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. If there's going to be a big, okay, this is good. I'm feeling this big wave coming through that affects the collective consciousness. And for some reason, even though none of us likes this word, religion, it's going to happen in the religious places of worship is what we call it, but maybe in the more institutional, collectives that have labels, all the way from, Buddhism to Islam to Christianity to, who knows, maybe the Catholic Church. But I'm getting a hit that there's going to be a surge of cosmic energy that comes in that creates a very organic change. So that's exciting. And it can be a time of kind of breathless. Uh, what should we want? What direction should we go? Kind of like we've never been in this spot before. I don't even know what we should want. And I'm sensing kind of a confusion, which is very good because, our the media and everything has established such a didactic, a black or white, this or that. It's so dualistic. And that 5 says to me, it's going to feel really different, and maybe people are going to be thinking for themselves. I'm getting a sense of feeling deeper into their own convictions. What's important to me? What do I want? And coming from there, it's going to be more of the people. Okay, what's the corresponding? So the ascending Mars is the Jack of Clubs, karma to the Jack of Diamonds. So the Jack of Clubs. Okay, this is I am getting that all of the star seeds who have come here with a mission, one says organic farming is mine, another one says animal rescue is my thing, another one says spiritual development is mine, another one goes alternative financial institutions or whatever your do is, that is paradigm shifting. I feel like that Jack of Clubs creative energy in Mars it's going to feel like I know where this fits now. Like one of my very dear friends she's been a nurse way longer than she thought she was going to be and always wanted to do something more in the spiritual realm and has finally figured it out that she's been preparing all this time. Oh, I'm going to do herb school, or I went to Naropa way back when and got kind of this psychology thing. And, oh, but what do I want to do? And now she's doing the last piece, which is being trained in mushroom journeys, healing psilocybin journeys, and actually is going to get a certification in that. And I just said to her, do you remember way back when we all felt like there was going to be a big change in our lifetime, and we were here to help build the new world and help with the healing, and helping people deal with whatever traumas are going to happen to bring them into the next, a more authentic expression of themselves. And I just said, you're doing it. This is your thing. It's finally just come crystal clear. It's not as clear for everybody, but I definitely feel like we're kind of moving in that direction. So the Jack of Clubs is going to bring about a tremendous amount of creativity, and being a karma card to the Jack of Diamonds. I'm just seeing again, creative energy is the option. There can be the 5 of Diamonds confusion. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm supposed to want. This restlessness, a lot of complaining, a lot of dissatisfaction, maybe even aggression. But the alternative is, what do I want to create in my life? So I think we're getting a real, what do we want this country to be? And I don't know what it is, but my guides are telling me that regarding the founding of our nation, the Jack of Clubs figures in there in a way that I haven't quite figured out yet. So I don't know what it is, but we do know that it is ascending. Ascending, is it ascending Jupiter? Mercury, Venus, Mars. It's ascending Saturn to the Jack of Diamonds. So there's a purposefulness that we create, that we come from this original space, that we are of a Christ consciousness to the world, because there's so much Uranian energy associated with Jacks. To be like, hey, let's innovate. Let's do this a different way. And I think we're going to really be called to do that. I think we've gotten away from that. Things have just gotten too easy. We've just so slowly handed over our power to, people have gotten really passive. I mean, me included. It's really hard not to be. So as far as the whole crowdsource, the electrical outage, I think we all know, we can all think of at least one person, if not 2 or 3, whose flight was canceled, who's, got really waylaid, things got really wacky. How do you think that figures into all of this? Is it kind of like a warning of like, okay, if this happens, then what am I going to do? Maybe that's part of the Four of Diamonds preparation. Don't worry, which the Two of Clubs can be. Build your foundation now. So yeah, feel free to comment on anything regarding those weird power outages that were global. Yeah, that wasn't just a bug in the system. There are a lot of bugs everywhere. But to have that kind of global event, I really feel like it was well, I was listening to, I think it was Laura's View in Tarot too, and she was saying it was a white hat up as kind of a warning. I mean, I was sitting there going, uh-oh, does this mean another balloting issue? Or is this the white hat saying something, demonstrating something? I don't know. Anyway, so I can't really say anything definitive about that election period, which of course we're all thinking and wondering about. I just think there's going to be something really unexpected because of that Jack energy and because of the 5. Okay, so moving forward to Saturn, which is through Christmas. It's December 7th, the Jupiter period. And this is what my guides told me would be interesting, through January 29th. So ascending 2 of Diamonds, descending King of Spades. So Jupiter, King of Spades. So in the when Mr. T gave his speech at the assembly, what do you call that? The convention. He used the number 52 a number of times. And of course, those of us in cardology are like, ooh, King of Spades. What does that mean? So anyway, I'm sorry, I've just noticed the view count has gone down like really sharply. So I'm sorry if this is boring. But let's just look at this one more thing. So the 2 of Diamonds, they're telling me, is the key. And I got that in a read that I did. I threw a bunch of cards last night thinking particularly about the election. And the 2 of Diamonds, okay, here's what I got. Being in Jupiter, now this really fits. And I was thinking about this in yoga. I was like, really figure this out. And what came to me is that it's very, very healthy and uplifting to spend time with people that agree with you, that you feel the same way about all of these things. I mean, some friends of ours came over briefly last night, and there was such a charge of like, whoa! I mean, like we did that a bunch of times. And I think it really poofs out the energy. I think, I don't know, a lot of stupid phrases are coming to my mind right now, like win, 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 or it's just so powerful, that 2 of Diamonds, connecting with people or focusing on wanting the same things. I feel an explosion of positive energy. So maybe after that 5 of Diamonds, what should we want? How should we proceed? This is so weird. Maybe the military takes over for a while. I don't know. But this does take us through Inauguration Day. This takes us to January 27th. So January 20th, who knows what's going to happen? But I think we're going to feel good. I think we're going to feel really good. So hook up with people at that time that are, that you're connected with. And I think throughout the whole year, that's going to feel really good, is to find your tribe, find your team, and just really share in that energy. Because just even in a very general sense, as star seeds, as the salt of the earth, we're sprinkled. And a lot of people in my sphere are like the only one. They're like, I don't know anybody else who's awake like me. So it's very important to connect with people at that time. So let's talk about the descending King of Spades. Being in Jupiter, of course, it's such a positive. Hey, Grumpy, 2 of Diamonds equals 2 of Pentacles, entertaining juggler. Thank you for that. There's always a correlation with the Tarot. So, yeah, that's an interesting image, isn't it? Juggling, or entertainment, or maybe there's just a sense of watching the show, being entertained and amused by it instead of being sucked into it. I don't know. That's an interesting image. So that King of Spades can be very serious, very heavy, questions of responsibility. Who are we responsible for? What is our responsibility? What's our role in all of this? But I also think it's just a real powerful jolt of success and a sense of empowerment. Um, so, yeah, and then Saturn, Seven of Hearts. I don't want to go too far out because things tend to get kind of murky, but that's, there's a potential of healing, emotional healing, forgiveness, disappointment in maybe some of the revelations that are going to come out. And the descending Saturn is Six of Hearts. So Six of Hearts, Seven of Hearts. It's like this was meant to be. This was a date with destiny. So, and then we have Two of Spades ascending in Uranus with Ace of Clubs. So that's new information, new partnerships. Neptune is Ten of Hearts, and Three of Diamonds. So yeah, that Three of Diamonds comes in at the very end. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So Neptune, we have DJT's card, and the Neptune period is in May. It goes from May 13th until July 4th. So spring into summer. I don't know. I got nothing. So anyway, I think the first part of this reading was actually really useful. Thank you to those of you who have hung in there. Does anybody have any final comments or observations? Our entire or not most of our descending hand and most of our ascending hand are living in the real estate of the spades. So I think that kind of adds a weight and a seriousness and a physical reality, a transformation, a change. So here's a little teaching tidbit. So let me see if I can find one of the big spreads. Okay, so the way I think about the card spread, oh, you're so welcome. Thank you, Al. Okay, hearts represent childhood, emotional development. Clubs represent adolescence and education. Diamonds represent adulthood, the fires, making money. Spades represent the elder, which finish up here in the crown in positions of responsibility to give back to the collective. And then they have to start over again in this emotional development. Sometimes very accomplished people are emotionally immature. Oh, that's sweet. I haven't been able to comment. I'm doing laundry and listening. Oh, isn't that great? I love listening to stuff when I'm busy doing stuff because of my ADD brain. So when we think of this down here, this Neptune line being spades, it's like achievement. It's like a final, if you don't think of it in terms of the negative aspects of planetary energies, Neptune is about dreaming. It's the realm of spirituality. It's transcendent. It's bliss. I call the Queen of Hearts the bliss card at its highest frequency, and that sits in Neptune, or the Ten of Spades, which I call the card of tireless devotion. And that Ten of Spades, when I was talking to Jeannie earlier, that Ten of Spades figures in here somewhere too. Well, it's the Two of Clubs sits in that Ten of Spades position. But anyway, yeah, my guides are saying that's really going to play a part in our own personal lives is what is it that is, what's your dharma? You can do your dharmic work just like endlessly, and it gives you energy. So that's the tireless devotion to something. And I think that's going to really play a part. It's going to be like clear what our calling is. But anyway, this Neptune achievement, I think it's likely that the United States is coming to the completion of some kind of cycle. We know astrologically, we're definitely in coming full circle, maybe even twice, with the whole Pluto Uranus things, the Revolutionary War and the Civil War and all that kind of stuff. So I think that Neptune energy that we're working with is, what are we meant to be as a nation? What is our destiny? What is our, it's out of your essence that you create the dream, which then ultimately results in the physical manifestation of it. And I think that's why at the end of a birth year, the end of a year, you're in your Neptune period. And so Saturn is when it gets really tough. Uranus, you're integrating everything you learned, learning new ways of doing things. And then the Neptune period is reflection and dreaming about the next year, thinking about where you want to go. So I think that's where we're at, quite possibly, just because we're occupying this Neptune line. And we did last year too. Last year, we were sitting in the house of the 6 of spades, which is where the 2 of spades sits in the mundane spread. So it's like we're moving through this completion of what we have been and transitioning to the new. You are here at this time on purpose. You were meant to be here. Everything about you is perfect. Your flaws, what you worry about, your dysfunctional relationships, all the mistakes you've made, as well as all the really positive, that there's a very strong soul in there that said, I want to take this on. I want to incarnate into this period in history. Ooh, I want to be a part of it. And yeah, it's been really tough in some ways. It's been very challenging. But just know that all of your personal development is purposeful to why you're here and what you're doing on a national level, just with your presence, as well as a global level. Our dear planet Earth herself is moving into a new thing, right? We're in the photon belt right now and all the solar flares and da-da-da-da. Grumpy. Neptune equals faith, equals dissolution of the ego, equals the meeting with the divinity. Beautiful summation, Grumpy. That is so funny. Are you really grumpy? What's your card? That is very articulate. I love that. Yeah, that really encapsulates some of what I've been saying, is that it's alignment with your divinity, with your essence. And we as a nation, I loved hearing the stories of other Olympic athletes, and this was like maybe 30 years ago. I think I was a kid, so maybe longer. But I remember hearing athletes from other countries saying, oh, we always looked forward to the Americans arriving because we knew we were just going to have a really good time. Like, they're really fun people. They're great people. They're, the way we think, the spark, the Jack energy of youth, innovation, creativity, non-attachment, fun. The youngest member of the royal family who's like, I think I'm just going to go to Tahiti, or like, I don't work right now. Just that, the rebel kind of energy. So it's nice to think of ourselves as being thought of positively. I think we have been conditioned to think that the world hates us and resents us and thinks that we're just worthless. And there's definitely a lot of, like, even in British TV, we've been watching the MI5 series. We got to season 10 last night, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope it's not over. But the Americans are always pictured as being kind of numbskulls. I mean, the CIA guy was actually a really decent human being, but yeah, we're usually portrayed by that kind of thing, in a negative light, and it's not very nice, and I don't think it's true. And I think, there was a video that went viral of a bunch of Ugandan children, and this is so precious to me because I support a very small grassroots organization in Uganda that's focused on children, and they've built a school and all kinds of stuff. It's so sweet. And these Ugandan children got together, and then somebody put a video behind it of the actual events of Saturday the 13th. Was it the 13th? Yeah, it was the 13th. And it was so cute. It was this total reenactment of everything. And like they had their little guns. All the little Secret Service guys had all their wooden guns. They're all ducking for cover and running little Mr. T, out of there. And what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It is just, and the crowd was just roaring. They just loved it. So anyway, let's try to think of ourselves in a sweet and positive way as Americans. Sometimes I feel like it's a dirty word, Americans, and I hear George Bush, America, America. It's a beautiful vision. The Neptune of this country, the vision, the alignment with divinity. Yogananda himself said that this is a very special country in the scheme of things, in the spiritual scheme of things. So you were born here for a reason. If you're an American for a reason. Okay. Jeannie, hey! Jeannie finally showed up. How long have you been here, Jeannie? Grumpy says, you're the Jack of Hearts. I love that. I know you meant to say heart, probably. Jack of Hearts, the primordial seed, the voice of God, valet in some decks of cards. He knows a little bit of everything. Yes. Oh, that's so funny. I know I've already mentioned you a bunch of times. So, Jeannie, do you recommend the video that we did over on my other channel? It's just Paula Krueger. Just look up my name and you'll find my other channel. And I've already made my political views pretty clear, but I try to keep them separate and make this more card focused and let myself kind of get on my soapbox and my other. But I don't know if I manage that distinction. But anyway, yeah, we just, it's a really fun conversation that Jeannie and I have, and she brings in a lot of really interesting little digs. She had this chart out when I was doing the video. I was like, oh, so where are we? And blah, blah, blah. So, so Grumpy's the Jack of Hearts. That's awesome. It's a difficult card to be, isn't it? I mean, everyone is, but I think it's really important to acknowledge the inherent challenges of being the card that you are. And like Robert Camp said once, just try not being your card. You know, just give up. Just be who you are. So because Jeannie's joined, I don't want to wrap it up yet, but okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw a little spread, and this is for us. Where's my deck that's a little more dirty and easier to handle? Just be yourself. Okay, this is for us. Anybody watching this video, go ahead and pose a question if you want. Okay, I got my question. And let me know what your question is later. We're going to do 3 cards. Wow! King of Hearts, King of Spades, 3 of Diamonds. And the card sitting on the bottom is the 6 of Clubs, which is today. So that's kind of the strong message of we'll just be here now. Be here today. Be here now. So the King of Hearts is about emotional graciousness. I call it playing chess with love. It's the emotional capacity to read the room, to know what's happening, to take a pause and to be strategic in what you say, to be self-aware in what your reactions might be and what your deeper intention is. It's mature love. So I hope that answers something. For me, that answers a how of where I'm headed. I usually do long range Pluto result. So maybe the long range is this. Okay, the Pluto, King of Spades. So King of Spades is our descending Jupiter as a nation, which my guides were like, this is big, focus on this. This is going to have an effect on the whole year. So this King of Spades energy, and the number of times that 52 was mentioned in that speech, I think it's critical to ask ourselves, what is my responsibility and what is no longer my responsibility? That's what King of Spades usually have to deal with, and usually they take on way too much. And sometimes they're avoidant because it's an overwhelming energy in question. And I think the King of Spades promises a kind of victory. So we were playing cribbage the other night, and this kept showing up. And look at what he's holding in his hand. And he is aware of it. He's thinking of it. Okay, this king is very different. All the kings hold a sword. But what is the King of Hearts doing with his sword? I think he's saying, let's not use the head, let's use the heart. Look at how his other hand, is gesturing to his heart. Be heart-centered. Like somebody said earlier in the chat, we're moving into a more heart-centered way of being. The King of Spades is aware of his power. He's aware of that sword. And I think like what last night, what came to me when I was looking at it was like a sword of truth. And it's also a sort of capability. So I had the fucking weirdest lucid dream experience last night. It seemed very random and odd, but I felt threatened. I knew that I was in paralysis, and I intentionally pulled myself out of it from a dream state into waking consciousness. And so this morning I'm laying in yoga, yin yoga, and I'm like, okay, what was the purpose of that? Get quiet, listen for the answer. And they said, to show you what you're capable of. Jason! Hey, look at what the next card is. So the King of Spades, what are you capable of? What do you bring to the table? So when the disciples came to Jesus and they're like, you guys think about it, like a crowd of 5,000 people, like I can't even imagine what that would look like my entire 5-acre yard being packed with people. And like Jesus said, they're hungry, what do? We can't even like go into town and buy food for me. He's like, you feed them. And they're like, so he's like, what do you have? Not what do you need? What do you have? Interesting comment there. I have 5 loaves and 2 fishes. So this morning on my jog, even though I felt physically like shit, I was like, what do I have? I have intention. I have some clarity about my goals. I have hope. I have faith. I have peace. What do you have? Okay, let's read some comments. Grumpy, the King of Hearts was not with the sword stuck in the head in the old packs. Really? Well, that's not surprising. That's really strange. Genie, King of Hearts is, yes, that's Mr. B. I just don't eat like Trump. I just don't want to say his name. Mr. B. That's interesting. Oh my God, I didn't even see this. So what does that look like? We've got DJT on one side, we've got B on the other, and the King of Spades, is that the divine arbiter? Jeannie says, King of Spades, it's a composite of self-alt. Oh, right, because K's composite, the one that just got endorsed, I don't want to say her name either, she just got endorsed, and her composite card is the King of Spades. So her 2 of clubs plus her planetary ruler, which is the Jack of Diamonds, right? Because she's a Libra, October 20th. Yeah, that's really wild. And the composite to self also, King of Spades, transforms into the King of Hearts. How does the King of Spades transform into the King of Hearts? But anyway, isn't that crazy? I mean, I see that King of Spades in the middle. It's this divine energy. So I don't know what your question was. Mine was very personal, like how to proceed with my career, what to focus on coming up. So I'm getting be loving and gracious, operate from your heart, realize what your assets are, what's your power. And then the 3 of Diamonds is versatility. It's non-judgment in my mind. It's putting all your cards on the table. This 3 is not directional. The other pips are directional, and they're moving away from each other. You can see the clubs and the hearts and the spades, but the diamonds are all the same. They're symmetrical. And so I've always thought of this as, let's just lay our cards on the table. And then I think it's very interesting that the first thing, which he did many times when he took office, was to have a listening session. Let's just get our cards on the table. Let's just listen before we make a decision. So that's a word to us, is to listen, take in information, especially with the events of the last Saturday. I was like, okay, the news, it's going to take about a week to really get all the pieces on the table so that we can, assess what's going on. So, Grumpy, the King of Hearts is put like this in the current mode because he came by self-sacrifice, namely by the suicide of the Jack of Hearts. Oh, that's weird. Is that by the death of Jesus? What does the Jack of Hearts look like? This is an interesting card study. And Grumpy, where did you get this? Because I have been looking for that kind of information for years and I've never found it. I heard some things, but then at some point it's like none of this information was accessible. Oh, that. Okay, so they both have this weapon that's coming from behind. So is the Jack of Hearts, we can't tell if he's holding it. He's holding like a peace leaf in front of him. But God, that's fascinating, right? Sharon. Oh, you're late to the party too. Yeah, no worries. Three of my regulars are late. Jeannie, Jason, and Sharon. Jeannie says, make decisions based on what you feel, because aligning with your heart will allow you to put the energy into something you can master and love at the same time. That was a very beautiful summation of these 3 cards. I'm going to read that again. Make decisions based on what you feel, because aligning with your heart will allow you to put the energy into something you can master and love at the same time. That's so cool. In the 68th spread, Jeannie says, the King of Hearts is the 12th card from King of Spades. So that's her transformation card, and she literally turns into B. I get it. That's crazy. So the 2 of Clubs down here, K's card, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, and then where's the King of Hearts? I'm thinking that's, oh, maybe the position of the King of Hearts. Is this where the 3 of Spades is? I'm not exactly following you. Where's the King of Hearts? He is hiding from me. Oh, he's right next to the Jack of Hearts. Is that what you mean? Oh, her composite to the self card, King of Spades. Okay. I'm sorry, Jeannie, I'm not quite following you. Artseer, hi. Miriam, 7 of Diamonds, me too. Joining 9 of Clubs, Lord. Oh, you're joining. 9 of Clubs, Planetary Ruler. 12 from the King of Spades. I see. Okay, you count down from the King of Spades, 12 cards. Transform self. So maybe even coming into some emotional mastery or maturity, or taking his place. Yeah, who knows, right? Having a hard time being non-attached about that one. Okay. Oh, and there was a bottom card. I think it was the 5 of Clubs. I'm going to shuffle the deck to get another environment card, which I think of as the bath of the reading. So making decisions based on emotional maturity, the most maturity and integrity you can bring to the table so that you can move into mastering something. 7 of Clubs is insight, discernment, energy, skill with energy awareness, the potential for negative thinking. This is a genius card, and maybe this is about bringing forward our genius and getting out of your own way. What are the constructs, your mental constructs? Like you wake up and your head is just spinning and like all these, habitual thoughts about who you are and the world and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, just take a minute to meditate and go, those are just thoughts. They're just constructs. And some of them are productive and some of them aren't. 6 of Clubs was the bottom of the deck, which talks about being pragmatic. Yeah. Malign. Sure, we don't internalize. And it's today. So be practical today, which is exactly what I need to do. So I'm overhauling my diet, and I'm gonna combine correctly, which means I need a lot of really handy veggie snacks, and I'll focus on protein, like produce and protein, and some fruit is what I'm gonna focus on. And I just feel like it's part of that 4 of Diamonds, building a foundation, making sure we don't internalize. Wow. That's profound. I love how articulate that is. The bottom of the deck, which Six of Clubs talks about being pragmatic, making sure we don't internalize. Yeah, it's like, am I being clear? Am I seeing both sides of this issue? It is a very practical vibration. That was really fun. So, Grumpy. Suicide is not the way. That's why Jesus is tempted into the desert to throw himself off the cliff, but he didn't do it. That's why the way the King of Hearts is placed with the sword stuck in his head. It's a joke, in my opinion. Oh, that's just very interesting. You know, we get interesting insights from looking at the face cards. So here's one of my favorite cards in the deck. Just look at it for a minute and tell me what you see. Is that a scepter she's holding? I'll hold it back. It's a little blurry. She's holding a scepter. Each of them have different expressions on their face too, don't they? Notice her clothing. Some of the symbols in there. I see diamonds. Sometimes you see the other symbols in there, like these are like little trees, but they could be spades. They have dots at the top of them. There's swirlies, diamonds, the flower. And I once heard this description of what each one of the flowers were. Oh, there's definitely a little diamond at the top of the scepter. So she's being led by her values. This is the diadem. This is what I hold most precious, and I let this guide me. There's something about how the garment, maybe this is like how it kind of flaps over her shoulder and she's holding this flower. I heard this definition of what each one of the flowers were, what they symbolized. Oh, here are the clubs. She's got clubs in her hat. So that's the wisdom. The diamonds are about moving forward and your guidance. Oh, I love this. Like, I've never even thought about this. I don't see any hearts jumping out at me. The swirls look a little like hearts, but who knows? Maybe that's been changed. But the spade encompasses the heart, the spade, and the diamond. So it's like a Russian nesting doll. It's like carbon. And I heard recently that protein is made of carbon chains, and I was like, but isn't protein and carbon, aren't they different? Anyway, one of those mysteries. Okay, have a really blessed day, you guys. We go back. If you go back to the beginning of the video, I talk about the Mercury period, the Venus period, Mars, focusing a lot more on Jupiter. And the Mars is the election period, and just not a lot came through about the election in particular, but it was more about the energies we're going to be working with as a collective and individually. Grumpy, the suit of spades comes after the suit of diamonds. That's why the Queen of Spades is meditative about values. Oh, that's interesting too. The order of the suits and the symbols you find in each one of their pictures. Oh, I love that. Okay. You also see a cross there. Yeah. And her relationship to the Christ card is Venus. It's like mother. Okay. So anyway, have a great day, you guys. Love you. Thank you for your participation. And good luck with everything. Have a great, practical, positive, grounded day.